And today's top trender, Barracuda's back.
Iowa, you are good people.
Fried butter on the stick, fried cheesecake on a stick. Heck yeah.
Sarah Palin sets her sights on the Hawkeye state.
She wants to get involved once again in these midterm races.
Well, Ted Cruz and more of those good guys need some reinforcements in these midterm elections.
Mike Lee, I am your father.
And potentially some of these big Senate campaigns that we're seeing.
Someday, I'm actually going to tell America what I really think.
I'm joined now by liberal commentator and comedian John Fugelsang. Brother Fugelsang, how you doing there, my man?
Always a pleasure.
So, Sarah Palin, it's always great to have you. Sarah Palin is speaking at the Iowa Faith and Freedom Conference this weekend in Des Moines. What's she hoping to accomplish there? Is this a warm-up, so to speak, for what's coming next for her?
Well, there will be cameras there, Doctor, so I think you're right about that. She's also flogging a new book. She's getting in on the War on Christmas bandwagon about 5 years after Bill O'Reilly made it trendy. And it's going to work. I mean, Sarah Palin's job right now is to keep folks like you and me talking about Sarah Palin. It's easy to scoff at her and say, oh, she's irrelevant, she can see oblivion from her house. And I get those arguments. I think Sarah Palin's sort of like, she does for the GOP what Jar Jar Binks did for Star Wars Episode 1. She distracts the easily amused from a total lack of narrative. But in this case, it's more about her just keeping herself in the spotlight. And the fact is, and you know this, Doctor, no major candidate will ever criticize her on the GOP side. No politician outside of Dick Cheney has ever criticized her once, because for all the laughable aspects of her, she's still a kingmaker and everybody wants her endorsement.
Well, it seems after Ronald Reagan, she is the most Teflon-like Republican in a long while. But in the band of Republican ideology, she's playing second fiddle to Utah Senator Mike Lee at the conference this year. Do you think she still has the juice? Does she have the same influence in the GOP that she had even a couple of years ago?
Oh, good Lord, no. I do think she'll be the first ever major party ticket candidate to one day host a cosmetics infomercial. You know it's going to happen in the next 10 years. She'll be marveling over this lip liner, ladies. But in the meantime, her job is to keep herself in the media eye. She's very good at doing that, and she's now going to go out and talk about the war on Christmas and make that her new pet issue with the new book that somebody else wrote, and that should be pretty effective. Telling people who are the religious majority that they're an abused minority will never make you go broke.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, but she's been sidestepping questions about another run for office. Do you think she's testing the waters in Iowa right now, kind of dipping her toe in, figuring out if it's going to work, if it's going to be successful or not?
Absolutely, and she should have done it last year. She wouldn't have won, but she would have, hit the snooze alarm on her career and kept it going a bit more. As it is now, she's a hero to gullible conservatives, smart liberals, and all comedians. So I hope she runs. I think we're finally ready for a second president who thinks Rwanda was JJ's sister on Good Times. That's a good thing, Doctor.
No doubt that. Apologies to Thelma. Look, Palin's not the only Republican that's passed through Iowa lately. Rick Perry is there. Ted Cruz stopped by to hunt pheasant with Congressman Steve King last month. Are Republicans really already jockeying for position in 2016?
Well, absolutely. This is Tea Party idol, and you're going to Iowa, dog. You're going to see more and more of this. These guys have to start fundraising early. You know the obscene amounts of money these men and women will have to raise to run for office. So we're going to be seeing a lot of it. And keep in mind, it's going to be a very entertaining 2016 field. It's not going to be like the clown car 2012 was for the GOP. You'll see what passes for heavy intellectual hitters in that campaign. Mike Lee, you'll see Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, Rand Paul. It's going to be like the anti-Avengers in a bizarro universe. Everyone evil fighting each other. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It'll be manna for comics. And I would love to see Sarah Palin use that primary process as an excuse to keep her career going a little while longer.
Well, if we draw back a bit and look at the broader field of Republicans, Chris Christie, with his recent re-election in New Jersey, augurs well for people who believe, look, we need a sensible Republican who's not on the extremes, who's able to run a national campaign. Do you think he has a chance here to really seize leadership and be the front runner for 2016 for the Republicans?
He would if it weren't for the Republicans themselves. I think that Chris Christie is perceived as a moderate, and a lot of the media like to call him a moderate. Let's point out this is a moderate who thinks that Roe versus Wade should be repealed and women who terminate pregnancies should go to jail. That's what this moderate's fighting for. This is a moderate who's finally stood up against the bigots having this gay reparative therapy going on in his state, and after months and months finally said he thought it was wrong and was hailed as a moderate for sticking up for the gays. But this guy still thinks those gay taxpaying citizens don't have the right to marry who they love. So I don't know where all this moderate talk comes from. Maybe compared to Ted Cruz's pop, he's a moderate. But according to the dictionary, he ain't.
Well, but given your analysis there, then, what hope does anyone have who's like not on the far right wing, who's a Republican who wants to hold his head up high and say, look, we believe in science, we have our religious beliefs here, but we're commonsensical kind of human beings. Where's the hope for the Republican Party in the next, I don't know, couple of years to find a candidate who can run, who can win over the right wing, and who can actually win?
Well, I ask myself this question all the time. I think Governor Huckabee was a guy who could have done quite well last year if he had decided to run. I think Chris Christie could do it. He is by far the best public speaker of all these candidates, and he's a much better public speaker than Mrs. Clinton, to his credit. He's very charismatic. He's likable. People who hate him like him. Those New Jersey voters disagree with him on the issues, and they still picked him. However, the fact that he has shown insufficient disgust for Muslims, the fact that he's shown some movement on gun control, that he hasn't been completely offended by medical marijuana, the fact that he has tilted towards moderacy a little bit is not going to be rewarded by the Tea Party base. And at this point, they're the ones who are calling the shots in the primary season. You will see Chris Christie come out in favor of marriage equality before the 2016 election, but not before the primaries.
My friend, you're a funny man, but your insight is really serious. John Fugelsang, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Merry Warren Christmas to you, Doc.
All right.